He's been with the xTech program specifically since what, Gunnar, xTech 3 or 4?
xTech 3, back 2019, a
Wow.
ways ago. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's worked with probably what, hundreds of companies at this point across.
Many xTech participants. Yeah.
And just want to confirm, Gunnar, you can see my screen
Yeah.
all right?
Yeah, we can see that. All right.
Perfect. And we also have with us today Gaina Malcolm Packnett. So Gaina, I think I saw you hop in. Say hello.
Okay, sorry about that. I was still on mute. Hello,
Oh, no worries.
everybody. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Thanks, Gaina. So today, I know we have quite a few things to talk about whenever it comes to Army stakeholder discovery. And I know, Gaina, that you are the utmost expert on this topic. So I asked Gunnar to be pretty quick with the slides today. We're going to just kind of walk through these things. And Gaina, I'd love if you can shed some light on any of these topics. And then at the end, we'll try to save about half the time here today for you to really talk about your expertise in this area, and then hopefully have some good conversation with the cohort. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Awesome. All right, Gunnar, I'm going to hand it over to you. Perfect.
Hey, everybody. I didn't get a chance to see in the kickoff, but kind of congratulations on making it to the Accelerator cohort here. This first topic is pretty critically important. Obviously, doing stakeholder or customer discovery or just identifying and researching your market is very, very important. But it's especially important when we talk about defense and specifically the Army. What I want to pose the first question here that's going to kind of help shape the whole discussion is understanding why startups, especially technology startups, fail. Feel free to just put what you think it is in the chat or come off mute, but why do companies traditionally not succeed in general in their growth? No customer, right? Anyone else? Not enough focus, product market fit, not identifying the right product market fit. Yeah, I mean, you get pretty much correct there. Next slide here, Katie. I know this is a pretty broad generalization based off of a study from Forbes, but if you're the CEO of a company, your primary concern is growing that company, finding revenue, paying your employees, meeting the mission of the thing that you want to do. And so you're constantly trying to find out, how do I mitigate the chance of failure? How do I maximize the probability of success? And just based off of this study and kind of what you guys said, the best way to do that is understanding if there is mitigating and making sure there's a need for what you want. Like if there's a need for what you want to sell, then you always have pull from the market. And the reason this is so critically important is because in defense, it's a lot harder to get the pull. It's very difficult to get the pull. And so when we talk about stakeholder discovery, and I know many of you are very familiar, it's the process to identify all of the people and groups, kind of mapping the network of folks that are relevant to you, and then collecting information to understand what is your pathway to navigate those different things. And it's really, really important in the Army, especially because it's very non-transparent, especially from outsiders. So for many of the groups here that haven't had any exposure to defense or the Army, the intention of what we're going to talk about here today is to teach you, who's what, where, how to go find them, how to go talk to them, and how to start to understand that. And then in the broader sense of the competition, you all have a concept and an assumption in your head of what your technology will do. And some of you are correct, some of you are close, some of you are incorrect. And I don't know for the individual cases, but the fact of the matter is that the judging criteria, you can be better, you can be closer, and you can be more informed on exactly what you want to pitch for, or potentially pitch for the SIBR topic. And so really there is no substitute for doing good discovery work within the Army. Next slide here. And so what will this process do? It offers you the opportunity to explore and validate the need in this market, test your assumptions that you have, because the assumptions could be incorrect or they could be slightly off. And then it allows you to pivot your strategy based on the insights that you get. Next slide here. And so just some goals here for the group. over the course of this Accelerator, I'd like everyone to sort of engage a few different buckets of people. There's the S&T community. These are the folks from Army Research Labs, DevComs, even within the acquisition structure. These are the folks that know what the state of the art is, and you should go talk to them to understand what their priorities are when they develop things. There's the acquisition shops. These are the folks that are doing contracting, they're helping with requirements, they have the authorities to purchase things. You should really go talk to these folks as well, because they think in different terms from the S&T community. And then there's end users as well. These are the people that would actually interface with your solutions, whether it's drones or materials or things like that. At the end of the day, a lot of the priorities and the things that the Army ends up buying come from these different end users. And these are just some examples. There's a tremendous amount of stakeholders in the defense markets, including the prime contractors, the OEMs, the people that are supplying different things, and then there's all the regulatory agencies involved as well. And so to approach this, you should really understand what you're getting into, and you can only do that by talking to people. Next slide here. Oops. So I think, does anyone have any questions before we get into some of the meat of the discussion? So I'm just checking the chat. No questions? Okay, we can get right into it then. So I think we'll do a little bit of DoD 101. When we talk about the Department of Defense, the mission here is to provide the military forces needed to deter and win wars and protect the security of our country and our allies. That's the overall mission statement, right? And so everything you do and everyone that is employed by the DoD essentially wraps up into that mission statement. So I'd keep that in mind as we go through the next slides here. Within the Department of Defense, there's a bunch of different essentially branches, agencies, all kinds of things like that. Obviously Army, Navy, Air Force, separate entities like the Joint Chiefs of Staff, there's OSD, there's all the defense agencies within OSD, Missile Defense Agency, it's like the NGA, there's I think there's 24 different ones. They all have very discrete missions as well, but today what we're going to focus on is the Army in particular, especially this competition. Important kind of terminology keynote here is talking about the warfighter, right? At the end of the day, if you read any policy-based documents or you listen to any leadership speeches or press or things like that, it all comes back to aiding the warfighter and how innovation wraps up to supporting them in their mission. So things should be aimed at how your product supports the warfighter. And the warfighter is a catch-all, really. It's not just people in camo, around guns and things like that. It can be the analysts that are looking at cybersecurity threats. It can be the people that are loading munitions onto planes. It can be the pilots themselves. It's a catch-all term for everyone that supports the DoD's mission. And so remember, when you're thinking about what your solution does, it's how does it aid the warfighter? That's kind of primary, and then everything else builds from that. Next slide here. So I want to put something into context, because everyone here is obviously a business. Defense is a market that you are kind of evaluating. Maybe some of you are pretty deep into it. Maybe some of you aren't. But just for context, the U.S. Government spending $800+ billion and probably more than that per year, and this is by far the most in the world. It's higher than all of the other 9 countries combined. So when we talk about the defense markets, it might just be like the biggest market out there annually. If you compare it to something like a Walmart that does $500 billion in revenue, if you were one of Walmart's major customers, that would be an enormous win, like a white whale. But defense is much bigger than that, and there are a lot of things that come with that. Tremendous amounts of regulations, the bureaucracy that comes with that, all the different parties that need to give a thumbs up for something to happen. So I'll just keep into context the size of the market that's at play here. Next slide. So looking into that budget a little bit, what is the DoD really spending its money on? There's lots of different things here. There's just the operational costs of all the employees. So you're talking about, I think more than millions of people at this point are employed in some capacity by the DoD. There's all the bases associated with that and whatnot. But there's kind of 2 big buckets that you should pay attention to. There's RDT&E, that's roughly $130 billion for research, development, testing, evaluation, anything to do with creating new material solutions, prototypes, and testing them, qualifying them, all that. Big bucket of money, entire massive organizations devoted to doing good things inside of that bucket. And then there's the bucket that's just to buy stuff, right? If they're going to buy tanks, or they're going to fix up tanks, or they're going to buy new helicopters, things like that. That's a different kind of bucket of money as well. And then there's individual priorities, right? Cybersecurity overhauls, focusing on readiness, talking about different internal things that they want to prioritize. There's lots of different buckets of money. And we'll get much deeper into that as the accelerator progresses, but it's important to understand that, if the DoD is roughly spending $800 billion, it's all being flowed down through different agencies into different buckets, and those people have very narrow missions of what they spend that money on. And so it's important to understand who you're talking to, what kind of funds they're working with, and what is within their mission set and their purview. Next slide here. And so when we talk about like where you can do business in the DoD, there's the two buckets that are relevant to startups and small businesses. There's things in development and the things that they buy. You'll see here the Air Force spends a ton of money on development, because obviously planes are advanced concepts and things like that are very hard to develop. They're complicated. Generally procurement, you'll see kind of similar here. Navy actually has the highest there, but the fact of the matter is they're all very, very healthy markets that startups and small businesses can look at. Not to say that they're not tremendously complicated, but they are enormous markets. Next slide. So kind of more specifically talking about the Army here, the Army's specific mission is to deploy, fight, and win our nation's wars by providing ready, prompt, and sustained land dominance by Army forces across the full spectrum of conflict as part of the joint force. Kind of a key term there being joint force, because the Army works in coordination with all of the other entities. And something, a big buzzword I'm sure you guys have heard about kind of over the last few years is this concept of multi-domain operations. It's the idea that all of the joint forces are essentially working together with all of their different personnel and all of their different assets to accomplish a specific mission set. And obviously there's a tremendous amount of technical challenges associated with doing that correctly. Next slide here. So getting into some org charts, love me some org charts. This is going to kind of help you guys understand where there are people within these organizations that are relevant to you. But an important note is all of the big DoD entities are pretty split. They're run by civilians. They're run by people that don't wear the camo stuff. Then there's the Army side of the house that is the actual like kind of enlisted and officer types. The civilian side is largely in charge of the contracting process, the procurement, the logistics, all this, and then the Army is the actual operational side of these things as well. The part that is probably most important for everyone to focus on here is actually the entity that sponsors this competition, right? ASALT, the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Acquisition, Logistics, and Technology. And it's a good point, because they're the arm that does all of the procurement and acquisition for anything. So if anything gets bought, it's going through that entity. They're spending, roughly $100 billion per year. I know I've been talking a lot here, but I'd love to bring in Gaina real quick. Gaina, do you want to add any color to how you think people should think about the Army very broadly, especially folks that are brand new to this?
Sure. I actually sent Katie some slides that I would like to pull up. Katie, did you receive those?
I'm looking for them right now, Gaina.
Okay, so everything that he's talked to you guys about is absolutely true, is absolutely correct. But guess what? You're not going to get into any of those offices that he's showing up there, okay? So I'm going to give you the secret sauce in how to maneuver through the Army, okay? And it'll probably work in the Air Force and Navy as well.
All right, Gaina, I'm getting those slides pulled up for you right now in one moment.
Okay.
You can keep talking and I'll get them pulled up while you're speaking.
Okay.
Perfect.
So my name is Gaina Malcolm Packnett, and I'm the program manager in the Army Office of Small Business Program. And I work the Army Mentor Protege program. I'm the liaison for the SBIR Sitter program. And I'm also the program manager for the HBCU MSI program. There are several individuals that are in my office, and we're program managers. We have different program managers for the various socioeconomic categories, if you fit into any of those. So that's kind of how our office works. So how many of you have visited a small business office before? Can you raise your hands? Can I see some hands? Okay, so nobody, right? That's why you're not going to be successful. That's your key. That is your key. Next slide. So as you can see, okay, so this is the Army Small Business webpage, right? And this is your key into any program office. Do anybody know what the role of the small business office is? You got to talk to me today, everybody. You got to guess or something.
We're getting off mute today. We'll
Yep.
start cold calling.
The only way this is going to be effective is if we're talking here. So everybody, please engage with Gaina. She's an amazing resource for y'all.
Please talk to me, because guess what? You're going to have to come back to me.
So I presume the Army Office of Small Business Programs is designed to help small businesses navigate the DoD bureaucracy and to get connected to programs and people.
We are your advocates. You are absolutely correct. That's what we're here for. And if you're not reaching out to your small business office, or you've never been into a small business office, you're cheating yourself, right? So here I have the Army Office of Small Business webpage. Across the top, we have some, and we're on all social media. We have a webpage. We're on Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook. So we do it all. But this is our webpage here. And across this top, you'll see that there's some headings: about us, programs, small businesses, learning and events, resources, and contact us. Next slide. When you click onto those headings, these are the topics that you're going to see. And I've highlighted a few for you that I thought would be critical for you guys. Under the small business tab, the very first thing under there is how to do business with the Army. It goes through 11 steps on what you need to do business with the Army. So here's what's important. You have to do some research, because when you say the Army, what part of the Army are you talking about? Because the Army is a big place. We have 5 commands. The Army has 5 commands. Next slide. These are our 5 commands. Made it easy for you, gave you the website to each one of the commands, told you where they're located, and I also explained to you what they're buying. So these are the 5 commands of the Army. Now, within each of these commands, it gets even more complicated. They break down even more. So let's, for example, take a look at Army Futures Command. Next slide. This is what they look like. All of these offices fall up under Army Futures Command. They're headquartered in Texas, but they have people all over. Aberdeen, North Carolina. They have a lot of the research labs. And Army Futures Command is the group that's building our Army of the future. They're looking at the Army of 2030 and beyond, even 2040. So some of the things that you guys are creating falls right in line with what they're doing. So when I said you have to, part of the how to do business with the Army, you have to figure out who in the Army is buying the technology that you're trying to sell, because it won't do you any good to go over to the Corps of Engineers if you have something for future vertical lift. You're looking in the wrong place. So you have to go through and look at each of the Army commands, look at how they're structured, and figure out where you fit into this piece. Once you figure out where you fit into this piece and understand who's buying potentially what you're selling, then that's when you do the easy peasy thing of strolling into that small business office, explain who you are, and tell them you'd like to provide a capability brief to someone in in future concept, the fires office, or someone at the chemical and biological center under combat capability development command. So they know exactly where to send you to. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thanks,
Yes,
Dana.
it does. Thank you.
All right, all right. So now we know who we need to talk to and what our homework is, right?
Quick question. What's a capability brief?
A capability brief is simply you go in and it's like an elevator speech. You tell them everything about your company and what you can do, your solution that you have, and you explain to them how it works, and they will get you into the program office to talk to the program office. Does that make sense?
Yep. Thank you. So it's a slide deck, basically.
Yes, and basically a capability brief, when you send it into the small business office, is usually a one-pager. So it's
Okay.
real short, but when you
Gotcha.
actually go in and talk, they typically give you about 15 minutes to tell them everything that you'll have about 15 to 20 minutes to tell them everything that you need to tell them.
Okay,
Quick
so
follow-up on that. So I'm assuming part of that is submitting something ahead of time, so you're not just cold calling and flying into a city to walk into an office with the hope of pitching your solution to the right people. But is there a way that you can basically ensure that the right people, the right audience that will necessarily understand the value proposition can be in the room?
So what happens is, and you don't have to fly anywhere. That's the great news about technology. Like we're talking today, we can do everything virtual. So you don't have to travel to Austin, Texas, or you don't have to travel to Aberdeen Proving Ground or Washington, D.C. or anywhere. Contact the small business office, tell them who you are, tell them you're going to send in a capability statement and you'd like to set up a capability brief. So they'll say, okay, and when you tell them you want to set up a capability brief, tell them what entity, what office you're interested in briefing. What program office are you interested in actually briefing? Okay.
Absolutely. And just to add on, this is not something I would go willy-nilly into. This is the people you may brief may be the subject matter expert at the Army, like the authority on that specific technology area. So you'll want to have done a tremendous amount of homework and shaped what you're going to talk about to be very relevant to them. It's a high power discussion.
It is. And if you need any assistance, my number is 571-234-7457. That is my cell phone number, and I return calls within 24 hours. Okay, so if you need any assistance with this, just give me a call and let me know. And also give me a call and let me know if you contact one of our commands and they don't respond to you.
I have a quick
Give them
question.
about a week or so, and if you don't hear anything back, please give me a call. Okay.
Yeah, I have a quick question, Gaina. What if you don't know which specific group in the command to talk to, but you have I don't know, call it a specific device that you want to propose could be better than the existing device or hardware that's being used? Can you still propose a capability brief and have the small business office connect you to the specific group within the command?
Absolutely, you can. Absolutely, you can. And you would probably want to talk to whomever currently is fielding that equipment or that technology. Whoever currently have that technology, they're always interested in doing it better. I just brought up Army Futures Command because, as you can see, they do a lot of stuff, and they're building the Army of the future. And a lot of stuff that you guys are doing fit into this category.
Yep, thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'd say when you're trying to find what you're aligned with, there's really two mechanisms. First is doing research online. You know, you can go to the Army Major Weapon Systems Handbook and Control F for PNT solutions, and it'll show 100 things. Then you can go read, you know, who's working on PNT stuff, and then you can go talk to Gaina and be like, connect me to those people. I'm sure Gaina can help you shape what that is as well. But I mean, also just, you know, starting with general folks in the Army that can help point you in that direction as well. So, you know, it's a traditional kind of research process to figure out where your value prop fits best within the Army, and then Gaina can help you knock down the doors to go talk to the people that are the experts.
Yeah, because I briefly looked over, I think, a listing of everybody that's on here, and I looked at your companies, and most of you will fall under Army Futures Command. Some of you will fall under Army Materiel Command. That's basically the big logistics arm for the Army. So some of your technology will fall under Army Materiel Command. But I do have a listing, I believe, of all of you and what your technology is. So we can take a look at that and see where you fit in and who potentially you would need to target. Will that work?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sounds good. Next slide.
Absolutely.
So these are some of the focus areas. You know, when they talk about the Army has gaps, so you're always trying to improve the Army. So these are some of their major focus areas. If your technology doesn't fit in this, it's okay, because it's probably something that we're currently using that you have come along and made better. So if you don't fit into any of our current focus areas, that doesn't mean that they still won't talk to you and that they don't need your technology or your service. Okay. Next slide. So these are some of our future focus areas. This is where we're going into the future. We want to have a transparent battlefield. We want to do warfighter network. So if anything you have fit into that, that's definitely Futures Command. Okay. Because this is talking about the Army of 2030 and 2040. So this is where we're heading. It may be useful for you to also read the Army strategy. Where's the Army trying to go? And that could also help you determine where you would fit into the Army's picture. Next slide. So that's all of my slides. Are there any questions of me? We also, in the small business program, we do have other programs that are available to small businesses. Again, we have program managers for all of the socioeconomic categories. I run the Mentor Protege program. Has anybody ever heard of the Mentor Protege program?
Yes, familiar with the Mentor Protege. It's pretty good.
Okay. So there's one person that know about it, but we got a whole group of folks that have no clue.
I see some head shaking happening for sure.
So the Army Mentor Protege program is where you pair yourself. I'm prohibited from pairing you with a large business because we want it to be a relationship that lasts more than just the 3 years that the program goes on. And in fact, we're just coming back from our summit that we had last week in Orlando. But what happens is a larger business will work with a smaller business and they will help develop you. There's a technology transfer. So if you need to get an approved accounting system, if you need to get any certifications, any ISO certifications, all of that stuff is a part of the task that they will go over. And guess what? It's free to you. DoD pays the large business to do that for you. And the only thing you would have to do is just find your mentor. So it's a great program if you want to develop and grow your company. And my solicitation is posted out on SAMS.gov. If that's something that you guys would be interested in, I gave you my number. You're more than welcome to give me a call and we can talk about it more offline. And what else was I going to say?
Dana, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So here in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have an opportunity for all the companies to pitch to some primes. And one of the pieces of advice I will give them is to have an ask in their pitch. Would asking for people to have conversations with them about the mentor protege program be appropriate?
Sure. I'm your person for the mentor protege program, but if you're, oh, I knew I had one more question. So let me ask you something. How many of you have your CMMC certification? Do we know what that is?
Yes, but don't have it.
Okay. So guess what? Why don't you have it? Let me ask, why don't you have it?
No, that's how long have you got? Time, money, resources. I think that's probably the three that covers down on everything for small businesses and government certifications or processes.
Well, let me just tell you about another program that DoD has. It's called Project Spectrum. You as a small business can go to Project Spectrum IO, and they will give you all the training that you need. They'll do an assessment, give you all the training that you need to get your certification for free. Can't beat that, can you?
What is that
For
certification?
free.
I've never heard about it. Could you explain?
So CMMC is cyber maturity. But it is a certification that you're going to have if you're going to do business with the federal government. It's ensuring that you're cyber ready and that your systems that you have, and you say, well, I don't use any systems. Why would I need it? If you get paid from the federal government, you will go through a system. So you're going to start seeing this in solicitations that are going to start coming out for all of DoD. It's going to be a requirement that you have a CMMC certification. DoD understands that it's very expensive, and that's why they have this program for small businesses. And if you need any other certifications, that's why you get in the Mentor Protege program and have a large business assist you with getting all those other certifications that you need.
Gaina, I was going to ask a question.
Sure.
Just to reiterate someone else's question, but in the Mentor Protege program, can that help with like DD 254 and holding clearances, or is that separate from Mentor Protege?
No, your mentor. So what happens is when you find a mentor, you give them your wish list. These are the things I would like to have. And they sit down, they do an assessment of your company, and they will be like, yep, you need this. Yep, we can help you with this. Yep. And you just go through your entire wish list of everything that you think you want. And that is what they do. They sit down, they go through that wish list. They come up with, you guys codify a list of what, because you're not going to be able to do everything on the list probably, but you rank everything that you have. You agree on what you're going to move out with, and absolutely, that's one of the things that they can help you do.
Awesome, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I had a question about just what happens after that capability pitch. Can you walk us through like best case scenario or a reasonable expectation of what would come after a like what does success look like pitch?
Well, I would say success is that it's somebody that's really interested in something that you have and you're able to sell it to them. It's something that they're interested in, and you end up with a SIBR, OTA, a grant, or something for whatever your capability is. It just depends on what that office is looking for.
And is there like a budget existing for them to test and validate a new technology that may not already be, on their radar, or would it need
so
to?
all the testing, that's typically in your SIBR sitter program, or the Army Research Laboratory. They have a program where you can submit stuff to them. Again, this is Futures Command. You can submit stuff to them, and they'll give you an award, and you will have so much time to look at the feasibility of your product. But that's like out of Army Applications Lab.
The reason I'm asking specifically is, so as an example, so my company, we did an AFWorks program where the program is really bring us a new technology, and if there's interest, go find a stakeholder to go prove that out. Is it a similar model here, or is it really, hey, we'll fund projects that meet the very specific grant needs, and it has to fit within that bucket? Or is there that openness of go in, you give this capability pitch, there's interest, it doesn't quite fit within an existing SBIR, STTR opportunity, but they would want to find ways to fund the validation of that?
Absolutely. I mean, all the research labs, they do have funding for research. So, and it is like AFWorks. It's like the AFWorks process.
Yep.
So, but they do have research dollars. Okay, some more hands up.
Hey, Gaina, Rich from Impressio here. I didn't quite catch when you were talking about the CMMC certification. What was the free route you said that a company could secure that cert?
Project Spectrum. Let me put it in the chat. I'll put it in the chat for you.
I can
Thank you
also
very
link
much.
that on our cohort website so everybody can find it there too.
Please go to that website and log in and get the assessment done, because it's out there and it's free to you. It's no charge to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Next
Looks like we have
question.
a few questions here. Sarah Hall, would you like to come off mute?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Just a quick question. We are at like a higher TRL level. And so some of the conversations we've had there, they've said to me, well, you're almost to the point of commercial availability and we're really not interested in anything that's commercially available. How do you combat that with a new technology that is very different from your perspective, Ms. Gaina?
So ASALT's SIBR program usually deal with the technology that's more advanced. So have you tried for a SIBR?
No, ma'am, not yet.
I would try for a SIBR. And since you're so far, maybe you could get a directed phase 2 SIBR.
Okay. And could you tell me again the name of the SIBR? You said ASALT, ASALT?
Yes, that's Dr. Matthew Willis, he's over that, and xTech falls up under him as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Actually, if you go to their website, the SIBR website, and I will find that and put that in the chat. If you go to their website, there's a plethora of information on there. Because they are more advanced, they release topics every single month. And they also have where you can submit a topic. So I need to get that website to you guys.
So Gaina, one of the cool things about xTech now was last year they started doing the SBIR phase 1 for the 10 at the end of this competition. So the top 10 that are selected at the end, the finals, which will be held in actually DC in June, will have the opportunity to submit for an Army applied SBIR phase 1.
Okay.
And that, yeah, it's under ASALT. So directly aligning with kind of what you were just talking about. So for everyone's reference, we have some of those resources linked on the cohort website. So I'll continue to share that link with y'all. So you have everything right there along with these links that Gaina is sharing. I'll make sure we get those added to the website as well.
Okay. Oh, everybody's got questions now. Becky?
Hi, Gaina. Thank you so much. That was a lot of information. It seemed like that the mentor project program would actually allow us to get, you know, kind of absorb all of these different information and resources that you're providing for us. I quickly went on the website while you were talking, and it looks like there's an application, a solicitation process. I'm assuming that's for us, right? So we just submit a white paper saying what we have.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
You
would be the protege. So your mentor, we would contract, we would do an agreement with your mentor. You just receive, you sit back and receive. Your mentor is the one that would be responsible for putting the white paper together, submitting the white paper to us for evaluation.
Okay,
our
so how
agreement
do
would be with that mentor.
Oh, got it. Because that's why it seemed like all of this was about the mentor stuff. So how do we become a protege? Do we just say we want to be one and then we just participate?
You have to find someone that's willing to be your mentor.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
Gaina, do you have examples of what some of those large organizations might be that they could be looking at?
So it doesn't have to be somebody that's a large organization. It just has to be somebody that has over $25 million worth of contracts. That's it. A lot of times what happened is we have proteges in the program that come back and become mentors. So practically anybody can be a mentor. They just have to get approved to be a mentor. But all of the large defense contractors, they've all been mentors. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, BAE, all of those have been mentors for us in previous years. CACI, there's a smaller company called S3 in Huntsville. They do an amazing job in the program. There's another company called Tech Masters. They're not a large company either. They're in Huntsville.
So Gaina, I get these solicitations from Lockheed saying, hey, there's an SBIR. If you're interested, send us a quad chart and then tell us how you would like us to participate. Is that something where I could ask them, okay, so it sounds like it's something like that, right? So if we think that we qualify for that SBIR, I would send them a quad chart and ask them if they would be our mentor in the SBIR program.
No. You
no?
don't.
Okay.
That's two separate programs. The SBIR is one program and the Mentor Protege is one program. Okay. So that's two separate programs. And you don't need to send anybody your stuff except for the SBIR folks for that SBIR program. But for the Mentor Protege, yes, you would have to sit down and talk to whoever you pick for a mentor. Hopefully it's somebody that you have some kind of relationship with, somebody that you've worked with in the past, and that they're in a line with what you do.
Got it. Okay, Thank you.
Mhm. Ansel, did I say that right?
Yes, you did. Pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for all of this great information. As you were chatting, I went to the the small business program office, and earlier you started out by saying we should visit a small business office, but the only thing I see on the website is to do the generic contact via email, mail or phone call. So how do we actually do that next step of reaching out and contacting the small business program office? Is that through the generic email, or is there a separate thing that I'm missing?
So those emails that you see are not generic. Those emails go to the headquarters office. So for example, if you were trying to reach somebody at Army Materiel Command, that email address that's on there would go to AMC, Army Materiel Command. But you can click on their website and see who fall up under AMC, and it'll have a link for them as well. Oh, let me tell you something else that's on the Army Small Business website. I didn't finish going through all of that. So there's a tab on there, and it's called, go back again. Yeah. See, if long range forecast, you want to know what we're buying? Click on that, because that's the forecast from all of our commands, our buying commands, upcoming forecast of what we're buying. You can also go in and take a look at our performance data. How well did we do at meeting our goals for HubZone last year and the year before? How well did we do with meeting our goals with service disabled veterans? All of that's on the website. Any other questions?
We got about 10 minutes left, so everybody please take advantage of this time that we have with Gaina while she's here.
If
Gaina,
there are no more questions.
Gaina, I had a quick question.
Okay.
Hey, at the like the big event like AUSA and DC, does the Army Office of Small Business have a presence? I know sometimes there is opportunities to do like roundtables or pitch opportunities. Is that something that happens?
Let me tell you, if you've been to AUSA and you have not come back to the small business corner, I'm so disappointed. We're a major player at AUSA, and we have some of our senior leaders that come in and they talk about what their initiatives are for the upcoming year, and you have a chance to talk to them and ask them questions. And we have where you can sit down and talk to the various agencies, not only to various Army agencies, but we have other agencies that are up there. DLA comes, DITRA comes, GSA comes, and then we also have some of the major defense contractors that come. We have matchmaking event, like 2 days.
Then I'll see you at this AUSA. I just might need a map to find you because that is a big show.
Yes, we are usually up on the second floor in the main building, on the second floor, all the way to the, I can't say to the right side because it depends on which way you come in. Just ask for Army Small Business, the Army Small Business Corner.
So what other shows are you at, Gaina?
We do the 8A conference. We just did the Mentor Protege conference. We go to all of the socioeconomic category, all of the socioeconomic programs. They all have events. We go to all of those, the service disabled veteran event, the HubZone event. And if you go back to our webpage, all the way on the end if you have an organization that would like for us to contact us, I think it's contact us. If you are part of Montgomery County Women's Small Business Club and you want someone from my office to come and speak, you can request us to do that.
Oh yeah, okay. Speaker outreach request form. I
Yes,
see it.
Dana, will you happen to be at Tech Connect in DC in June?
I will be there.
Perfect. So will all of us.
I have another question for you, Gaina, while we have a couple of minutes.
Okay.
In your experience, when we're putting together a one-pager, and then when we're going to hopefully do that 15 to 20-minute pitch to whatever futures or whatever command we get put in touch with, what is the most important thing in your experience to focus on in those? Is it to focus on the technology? Is it to focus on use cases? Didn't know if you had any thoughts or wisdom to share on what we should be emphasizing.
I would say focus on why do I want to buy this? Why should I spend my money on this? So you don't have a lot of time to talk about your use cases, but you can throw that in there while you're talking. But tell me, why is this going to benefit me? Why do I need this as the Army? How is this going to help me? How is this going to change the Army to fill one of my critical gaps that I have?
Thank
Does
you.
that make sense?
That's oh, absolutely. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Well,
we got
you
about
all
5
have my
minutes.
number. You all have my number. So use it. I'm here. That's what I'm here for you. And I will help you as best that I can.
Thank you so much, Gaina. This was really incredible. And I speak for everyone here whenever I say that, this was extremely valuable information. Then I really hope everybody took away something from this conversation. So hopefully you'll be hearing lots from these companies soon about them doing capability briefs and wanting to get in touch with some of these different offices. So thank you so much, Gaina. We really appreciate it.
No problem.
Awesome. Well, in the last couple of minutes here, I just have a couple of housekeeping items I wanted to address with the group. I know I promised you all at our meeting on Tuesday that I'd have some more information for you guys on the Defense Prime Day that'll be coming up on April 27th. So just to tell you a little about that, and again, I'll follow up with this in an email so you have it all typed out since I don't have a slide in front of you. But the way that those pitches will be structured is it'll be a 5-minute pitch and then followed by 2-minute Q&A. I know that seems really short, but in order to fit all 20 companies in the span of about 3 hours to make sure that we can get as many defense primes there as possible and not waste too much time for them. Hopefully it's not a waste of time. Hopefully this is a very valuable use of their time to see everybody, but 5-minute pitch, 2-minute Q&A. And I have kind of a template that I put together for a suggested agenda for your pitches, but at the end of the day, whatever you think to cover within that 5 minutes and hopefully closing it out with an ask would be great. So I will send that pitch structure over to you all along with kind of a run of show. I would love it if everybody could confirm that the time that we have you slated for works for you. We have it broken out by technology verticals so that the relevant primes can hopefully attend for all the same pitches. And then if you could also confirm who from your team will be speaking at that event. I'll also have a section for you guys to submit your slides. This will all be in like an Airtable form. So I'll have that to you guys soon, but this will all, again, the slides from today, everything that Gaina shared, we'll share that on the cohort website along with the information for the Prime Pitch Day. Josh, I see you have your hand up.
Do you know who will actually be in attendance from like those primes so we can cater the pitches appropriately?
Yeah, we'll be able to provide you guys that list hopefully here within the next week. Right now, I know we have BAE Systems confirmed, and I'll keep you posted as we get further confirmations. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, but as mentioned, we like to do these office hours kind of